Hi guys, welcome back to Super Math for You. This is Mr. Urrego, and today we're doing the third part of the Accuplacer, which is Advanced Algebra and Functions. Please, if you haven't checked the previous two videos, make sure you do. They're much easier than this. This is the last one out of the three of them. So check this, and then come back to this video. We're doing a sample test, 20 questions. Let's start. Number 1. Function g is defined by g of x equals 3 parentheses x plus 8. What is the value of g of 12? Every time they ask you g of something, the only thing they have to do is replace that, whatever value you have there, for the x. That's it. So g of 12 is the same as 3 parentheses 12 plus 8. Remember, instead of the x, I write a 12. And then solve. 3 times 12 is going to give you 36. 3 plus times 8 is 24. 36 is 24, gives you 60. Or, combine the 12 and the 8. 12 plus 8 is 20. And then multiply 3 times 20, which is going to give you the same answer. My answer is D. Number 2. We have a graph of a line. Let's see the question. Which of the following is an equation of the line that passes through the point 0, 0 and is perpendicular to the line shown above? So they're saying that my line crosses 0, 0 and is perpendicular, right? 90-degree angle to this line. So the main idea, guys, is when two lines are perpendicular to each other, what's going to happen is the product of the two slopes is equal to -1. Or in other words, slope of the line, first line, is negative reciprocal of the other one. As you can see, this sounds like confusing, but the idea is you gotta find the slope of the first line, okay, and then what you do is you flip it and change the sign. Let me show you. So the first thing that I need to do is find the slope of this line. For that, we're gonna, because we have the graph and we have 2 points, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do rise over run. So we're gonna start with the point on the left, make a triangle to the point to the right. So going down and then to the right. So my slope is rise over run. I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. Because I'm going down, it's gonna be negative, and that's your rise. And the run is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because it's going to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is going to rise positive. So the slope of this line is -4 over 5. Now, my second line goes through 0, 0 and is perpendicular to the other line. Like I said, the slopes have to be negative reciprocal to each other. So if slope 1 is -4 over 5, then slope 2, which is the green one, is going to be flipping this fraction 5 over -4. And if the first slope is negative, the second one has to be positive. So my slope is 5 over 4. Okay? Once I have the slope, it's just a matter of finding the y-intercept. But remember, they already said that my line goes through 0, 0, and which is going to touch the y-axis. So this is going to be my y-intercept. Remember, the equation of the line is y equals mx plus b. From here, I need to find the slope and the y-intercept. The b stands for the y-intercept. In my case, my slope is 5 over 4 of x plus 0. That's my y-intercept. So basically, it's just 5 over 4x. My answer is A. Let's go to number 3. The surface area of a right rectangular prism can be found by finding the sum of the area of each of the faces of the prism. Okay, surface area is all around it. All around it. Okay, that's why they're saying the sum of each of the faces of the prism. What is the surface area of the right rectangular prism with length 4, width 9, and height 3. Every rectangle is equal to length times width. So now they're asking me for the surface area of the whole thing. Okay, so we got to find the surface area or the area of each face. So let's do the front. All right, that's a rectangle. The base is 9, the height is 3. So the area is 9 times 3, which is going to give me 27 square centimeters. Okay, now this is 3. So the side face, this side face is 3 times 4. So my surface area is 12. Let's go for the top. Okay, this 4 is the base, therefore this is 4 as well. Okay, and I need this side. And this side is the same as the bottom, which is 9. So this side is 9. Therefore, the area of the top is going to be 9 times 4, which is 36. But remember, those are the three faces that I see. So this 26 is going to have something on the back also, right? The one on the back. This 12 is going to have one here that you don't see. And the 36 from the top is going to be 36 on the bottom as well. So every single face you have to multiply times 2. So I have the top face, which is 36 times 2. Then the side face, which is 12 times 2. And then the 27 times 2. And that will be the surface area of the whole rectangular prism. 36 times 2 is going to give you 72. 12 times 2 is 24. So 27 times 2 is 54. 10, 8, 10, 150. My area is 150 square centimeters, which the answer is D. Let's go to number 4. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to this? All right, so they give me the polynomials. That means I got to multiply this times this. It's just a matter of multiplication. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. We're going to take the x and we're going to multiply times each one of them. X times x squared is give me x cubed. Why x cubed? Because this x has a 1. And when I multiply 2 powers, I keep the same x and I add the exponent. 1 plus 2 gives me 3. X times negative 3x, don't forget, this x has a 1 as well. So I'm going to have positive 1 times negative 3 gives me negative 3. And then x times x gives me x squared. And the last one is x times 2. That's going to give you 2x. Same thing that I did with the first term, I'm going to do with the 7. 7 times x squared gives you 7x squared. 7 times negative 3x gives you negative 21x. And 7 times 2 gives you 14. Once I do that, it's a matter of just combining like terms. The first one, normally you start with the highest exponent, x cubed. There's only one x cubed, so I write it down again. Then you start combining x squared with the x squared, and you have 7 minus 3 gives you 4x squared. And then go with the x and the x. You got 2 minus 21, or negative 21 plus 2, which is gives you negative 19x. And the last thing that you have, you notice that I haven't used, we use everything, we haven't used the 14. Plus 14. Let's check which one the answers, and the only answer that has that is, let's double check, x cubed plus 4x squared minus 19 plus 14. My answer is B. Number 5. They give me a graph. Okay, let's read. The graph above shows the cost in dollars of apples as a function of the number of pounds of apples purchased at a particular grocery. The equation above defines the cost of C in dollars for P pounds of pears at the same store. Which of the following statements accurately compare the cost per pound of apples and the cost per pound of pears at this store? All right. They give you the cost of apples as a linear equation. They give you the cost of pears as the equation. So you have the graph for the apples, you have the equation for the pears. Now, let's read the answers. Apples cost approximately $0.07 less per pound than pears do. So what they're giving you is dollars per pound. That's the slope. That's the rate of change. Money, $0.04 less per pound. Money per pound. Money per pound. All right. So that's rate of change, which is the slope. So what I need to do, guys, is basically find the slope of both. I need to find the slope of the apples, and I already have the slope of the pears, right? Which is the 7/5. Let's find the apples. So let's get 2 points. Any 2 points. I see that I have a point right here. And let's check another point along the line right here. Crosses that. And from there, I'm going to go rise over run. I take the first point on the left, straight up, and then to the right. My slope or rate of change is 1, 2, 3, and 4 over 3 steps. Okay, and that will be the rate of change for the apples. The rate of change for the pears is 7/5. So I have the slopes as fractions. As you can see, the answers are given in decimals. So I need to find the values as a decimal. So 4/3 is 1.33333 repeating. 7/5 is 1.4. These are the apples and this is the pears. As you can see, the apples are 7 cents less than the pears, right? So this one is 7 cents less than the pears. Therefore, my answer is A. Next. Number 6. Which of the following is the graph of a function where y equals f of x? The magic here, the trick is, which one is a function? All right. How do we know if a graph is a function, guys? We use the vertical line test. If I draw a line, a vertical line, and I touch more than one point, which I am, this is not a function. That's called the vertical line test. Let's go to B. Draw a vertical line. I'm touching 2 points, not a function. You can only touch one point. C. Draw a vertical line. Only one. Vertical line. Anywhere in my graph. Anywhere in my graph. So far it's only 1 point. Let's double check with D. Look at D. I'm touching 2 points. Therefore this is not a function. My answer is C. Only touching one, that's the only one that is a function because of the vertical line test. Next. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to that? All right, so we're going backwards, guys. All right, now they give me a trinomial, and now they give me the factors. So in this case, I need to factor. All right, so let's take that. 3x squared plus 6x minus 24 and factor. The first thing that you want to always check when you're factoring is GCF, greatest common factor. To make it easier, greatest common factor, check the smallest number out of the 3 of them. In this case is the 3, and see if it goes into the other ones. It does. So 3 is a common factor. Check if the variable x is common. You see that I have an x in the first term, I have an x in the second one, but there's no x in the third. Because there is no x here, then the x is not common. Open parenthesis. And now I'm going to divide each term divided by 3, and my answer goes inside. 3x squared divided by 3 gives me x squared. Plus 6x divided by 3 gives me 2x. minus 24 or negative 24 divided by 3 gives me negative 8. And that's my first step. As you can see, I have a 3 outside as a common factor. So this is not a possible answer. That's not a possible answer. So it's only A and B. Then I need to check inside my parentheses. And this is a trinomial. A trinomial, I'm going to factor it using product and sum. Two numbers that you multiply get negative 8, but when you add, you get 2. To get negative 8, you get 4 times 2. But because the product is negative, then one of these two numbers have to be negative. You look at the sum, and my sum is positive. That means my bigger number has to be positive, and the small number has to be negative. Let's double check. 4 times negative 2 gives me negative 8, and 4 minus 2 gives me 2. So my numbers are 4 and negative 2. The way I factor this trinomial is using two parentheses. X here, X there, and I bring down the plus 4 in one parenthesis and then minus 2 in the second parenthesis. Do not forget the greatest common factor from before. And this answer is going to be answer B. You notice that these two parentheses are in different position, right? Compared to the answer. So it doesn't matter if I flipped those two parentheses because they're multiplying, right? I hope that's clear. Number 8. A biologist puts an initial population of 500 bacteria into a growth plate. The population is expected to double every 4 hours. That's exponential. Which of the following equations gives the expected number of bacteria n after x days? 24 hours is 1 day. So number of bacteria is n, days are x. Number of bacteria, x is the number of days. All right. And one little trick here is the population is expected to double every 4 hours, and these x are in days. So guys, 1 day is 24 hours, but I need every 4 hours. So how many chunks or 4 hours are in 24 hours? That's right, 24 divided by 4 gives you 6. So there's 6 increments of 4 hours in 24 hours, which is 1 day. Oh, by the way, the population expected to double every 4 hours, right? Double. That's your growth factor. Your growth factor is the number inside the parentheses. Okay, so my growth factor is 2. So my two answers, this is not a possible answer because my growth factor is 6. Neither one of them. All right, and the 6, the trick is every 4 hours. So there's 6 groups or 6 packets of 4 hours into 1 day, which is the value of x. All right, so my answer is B. Next, number 9. Which of the following values of x satisfy the equation above? Okay, so guys, it's simple. You can just do the whole math or you can plug it back in. All right, the easiest way to be plugging it back in. 7 squared gives you 49 plus 7 times 5. I'm doing the 7. 7 times 5 is 35 minus 4. Does that give you 5? 49 minus plus 35 is a big number. No, it's not going to give you that. Let's try with 3. 3 squared is 9 plus 3 times 5 is 15 minus 9. 15 minus 9 is 6. 6 plus 9 is bigger number. Doesn't work. Negative 2 squared is positive 4. Then you have negative 2 times 5 is going to give you negative 10 minus 9. Too many negatives. I'm going to give you 5. Negative 7 squared is negative 7, sometimes negative 7, which is 49, plus 5 times negative 7 minus 9. So 49, 5 times negative 5 times negative 7 is negative 35 minus 9. So let's say 49 minus 35 gives you 14, and 14 minus 9 is 5, which is what I'm looking for. My answer is D. That's one way. Another way is doing the math, right? I'm showing you this because, guys, when you're doing a test, sometimes you remember. So the idea is the following. If I want to factor this out, right, I need to have a 0 on one side before I start factoring. That means I got to cancel the 5 from this side. Minus 5 in one side, minus 5 in the other side. So I have x squared plus 5x minus 14 equals 0. When you have a 0 here, then I factor using product and sum, what we did already. So product, negative 14 and 5. So that's going to give me 7 times negative 2. 7 times negative 2 is going to give me negative 14, and 7 minus 2 is 5. So my factors are x plus 7 and x minus 2 equals to 0. And from there, what I do is I make every factor equal to 0 and find the values of x. In the left side, you do minus 7, and that's going to give you negative 7. And on the right side, you do plus 2, and that is going to give you positive 2. All right? So the two answers is negative 7 because the 2 is not here. So all of those are wrong answers. Okay, so this is the proper math, but again, sometimes you don't remember this. I just read you factoring right there. Next one. Number 10. The graph of this function is shown in the plane below. All right, let's look at the questions. Which of the following equations could define that function? So here we go, guys. I'll put links to the description in the description for parabolas. So this is in vertex form. You see you have parentheses to the second power. This is an intercept form, and this is in standard form. All right, 3 different ways. Let me explain this real quick. First of all, my parabola, as you can see, technically we have arrows here, so it's opening up. That means the value in front of the x is going to be positive. X squared is positive. Here's negative. That means it's opening down. It's going to be something like that. So this one is not part of my answers. And this one is negative as well, so it's not part of my answers. Real quick, I can take 2 out. Here, these are the x-intercepts. Let me write that intercept. So this is x equals negative 2, but I want as a factor. So as a factor, I need to bring this plus 2 plus 2. So I have x plus 2 as a factor equals 0. Same thing here. This is x equals 4, but I need to bring it next to the x. So I have x minus 4 equals 0. So those are my factors, x plus 2, x minus 4. X plus 2, x minus 4, they have opposite signs, so that's not an answer. So this one is in standard form. All right. So to make it easy for us, even though we know that's the answer already, let's find the vertex of this function. To find the vertex, we find an x and a y value. To find the x value, there's a formula which is negative b over 2a. A is in front of the x squared, b is in front of the x, c is my constant. So I have a negative here, and the b is negative 2, so I have a double negative right there. 2 times a, and the a, there's no number in front of the x squared, you have a 1. So that's negative 2. On the top is going to give me positive 2, and at the bottom is positive 2. Therefore, the x is equals to 1. All right? And now, let's find the y value. To find the y value, we go back and we plug it in here for the x values. We had that x equals 1, so it's going to be 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 8, which is going to give me 1, minus 2 minus 8, which is going to give me negative 9. So my vertex is 1 comma negative 9, which is what I have here. Positive, right? There's nothing much that I need. If I want to keep going, I can also factor this. And if I factor this, I will find the factors that I have above. Two numbers that you multiply get negative 8, but when you add, you get negative 2. Negative 4 times 2. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. And negative 4 minus 2 is going to give me negative 2. So my factors are x minus 4, x plus 2. Triple check. X minus 4, x plus 2, x minus 4, x plus 2. So there's multiple ways how to check this out, but again, you got to remember a lot of stuff. So the main idea is to cross out as many things as you can in the beginning. All right, let's go next. By the way, guys, if you're learning, please like the video. All right, there you go. Thank you. And subscribe to the channel, guys. That helps a lot. Liking the video, guys, is going to help a lot the channel. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. Let's go. Which of the following best describes the range? All right, range. Okay. So now, real quick. So it's going to be some kind of parabola facing down because my leading coefficient is negative. It's a parabola because the exponent is even. All right, and this is the vertical movement, so this is going to be a 7. All right, this is your x, this is your y-axis. When you're doing the x-axis is your domain, when you're doing the y-axis is your range. Okay, so your graph, the highest value that your graph has is at 7, and then it has arrows going down. So your range starts on negative infinity all the way to the bottom because of those arrows, and it goes all the way up to 7. That's the highest value. Okay, so y has to be less or equal to 7. So my answer is C, 12. So the question is, for which of the following equations is x equals 6 the only solution? So basically you have to solve each one of them, guys, and see which one has 6 as an answer. Now, real quick, if you notice, you have two factors here. So when you make this equal to 0, my value of x is going to be opposite of the sign. So my answer here is going to be x equals 6, and for this parenthesis is going to be x equals negative 6. They're saying the only solution, this one has a negative 6, doesn't work. Okay, the first one, you have 6x squared equals 0. To solve that, you do square root, and that's going to give you 6x equal to 0, right? Because the square root cancels the square, and divided by 6, x equals to 0. No, gives you a 0. B, you have a square, so you do square root. So technically, every time you do square roots on both sides of an equation, you're going to have a plus or minus, but in this case it's 0, so you don't need the plus or minus in that case. And from there you add 6, x equals 6, and you can see that's the only value that you'll have there in B. Just to double check, let's check C. So we have x plus 6 to the second power equals 0. Square root, right? The square root cancels the square, so you have x plus 6 equal to 0, minus 6, x equals to negative 6. You're looking for the value of 6. That doesn't work out, so the answer is B. Let's go to the next one. Number 13. If f of x equals this, what is f of x plus 2? Remember, we did already something like that with a g function where they asked me for g of 12. Okay, so when they give you something like this, the only thing you have to do is replace it. Whatever you see an x, you're going to write an x plus 2. When you see an x, you're going to write an x plus 2. Be careful with the exponent. So let's write it down. So f of x plus 2 is equal to x squared. Instead of the x, I put x plus 2 to the second power. Plus 3x plus 3. Instead of the x, I put x plus 2. And don't forget to bring the plus 1. Alright, so that's f of x plus 2. Before we move on, let's check if that's one of the answers. X plus 2 to the second, 3 parentheses x plus 2, plus 1. Answer is B. Next, 14. What, if any, is a real solution to this? So maybe there's no real solution, or maybe we have an answer like that. So let's solve this. Every time you have radicals, guys, you have to get rid of the whatever is on the outside, plus 9. You want to leave whatever has the radical by itself on one side of the equal sign. So get rid of the 9. Minus 9, minus 9. You do the opposite, right? And I have 5x plus 1 equals 3 minus 9 is negative 6. Then, to get rid of a radical, we have to do the opposite. Guys, before we had like something like x plus 2 to the second power, right? Equals to whatever. And remember that I said, guys, if you have a square, you have to do square root on both sides. Okay? In our case, we're going backwards. We have a radical. What we need to do is square it. Because we have a square root, that means you have a tiny 2 right there, square root. To get rid of that square, we raise it to the second power, and we raise it to the second power. Okay? Then what's going to happen is the square cancels the square root, and you have 5x plus 1, okay, equals negative 6 squared, gives me 36, and I keep going. Let me solve. But then I'll show you what is the trick. There's a trick in this problem. I just saw it. 5x equals 35. Okay. Divided by 5, x equals 7. All right. The idea is the following, guys. Every time you solve a problem like this, you got to go back to the original problem and double check your answer. So I have 5 times 7 plus 1. Oops. Plus 9 equals 3. Inside the radical, I have 35 plus 1 is 36. Plus 9 equals 3. Square root 36 gives me 6. Plus 9 equals 3. Right? 6 plus 9 is 15 equals 3. Right? Is this right? No. How come? Because throughout the process, we got a negative 6, and then we raise it to the second power and it becomes a positive value. Because when this happens, most of the times what I'm going to have at the end is called an extraneous solution, which means I solved the problem doing basic math, or no magic. I got an answer, but when I plug it back in, it didn't work out. So my answer is no real solution. Let's go next. We have 15 now. They're giving me x equals negative 2x. Oh, I'm sorry. X has to be different of negative 2, and x has to be different of 3 over 2. Those values, guys, are restrictions. If my x equals to negative 2, and I replace negative 2 here, negative 2 plus 2 is going to give me 0. And 5 divided by 0 is going to be undefined. You can't divide by 0. You can't divide by 0, so these are called restrictions. 3 over 2 is a restriction for the other side. If I plug a 3 over 2 here, the 2 cancel with the 2, and I'll have a 3 on the top. 3 minus 3 gives me 0. So these two are the restrictions of my rational equation. They're asking me, what is the solution to this rational equation? What I need to do, guys, is just cross multiplication. That's all what I need to do, and find the values of x, making sure that I don't get any of these two. If I get any of these two, then there's no solution. In this case, we have solutions, so that's not going to be one of the possibilities. So let's do that. X times x plus 2 equals 5 that multiplies 2x minus 3. Simple as that. Distribute x times x times 2, 5 times 2x, 5 times negative 3. And because I have a quadratic function now, I need to bring everything to the other side of the equation. Minus 10x. So I have x squared minus 8x equals negative 15. plus 15 on both sides. And that's going to give you x squared minus 8x plus 15 equals to 0. Keep in mind, you need to have a 0 every time you're factoring something to the second power. Okay? A quadratic has to be equal to 0 before you can factor. To factor, we use product and sum. My product, two numbers that you multiply get 15, but when you add, you get negative 8. 5 and 3, okay? But again, 5 times 3 gives you 15, but 5 plus 3 is positive 8, and you need a negative 8. Therefore, you got to change those signs. Negative 5 minus 3, and now two negatives will give you a positive, and negative 5 minus 3 will give you a negative 8. Okay? You have an x squared that is going to factor into x, and you bring down the negative 5 and the negative 3, don't forget, equals to 0. From there, every factor equals to 0. And here you have plus 5, x equals 5, plus 3, x equals 3. Therefore, your answer is A. Next. 16, they give me two triangles. Okay, let's read. A triangle JKL and triangle PQR are shown above. Angle J is congruent to angle P. They're saying, which of the following must be true in order to prove the triangles JKL congruent to triangle PQR? So guys, let's talk a little bit real quick here. When proving two triangles congruence, you can do side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, okay, or angle, angle, side. Those are the theorems to prove two triangles congruent. Right now, you have an angle already. So that means you're not going to have three sides. That's not the case. I zoom out so we have the same old information, even though a little bit smaller, but we work it out. So let's see what they want. Okay. So angle L congruent to angle R. And JLPR. JL congruent to PR. If you notice, one of the choices that we have is angle, side, angle. So one angle is congruent to one angle, the side, and the next angle is congruent to the next angle. To make it easier, between this angle and the angle, you have that side, and between this angle and that angle, you have this side. So that's why I call angle, side, angle. Angle, side, angle. Okay? That's my answer. 17. In the function, a and b are both integer constants, and b is positive. So a is integer, b is integer, and b is also positive. Integer means it's a whole number. Alright? No fraction, no decimal. If the end behavior of the graph is positive for both very large negative values and very large positive values of x, what is the true value? What is the true about A and B? Alright guys, multiple choices. So A could be negative or positive, and B could be even or odd. Alright, so all those are the possible choices. So they're saying when they give me very large negative, very large positive values of x, the answer is going to be positive. So I got to go back here and plug in values. And when they're saying very large positive is, so like 100 plus 2, right? Or 100 minus 3. So this doesn't matter. The 2 doesn't matter because the very large number, or 1,000, right? Something really big. So let me explain. So let's say that I have f of x Okay, and we got to trial and error in this case. We know that let's pretend that the let's use signs right now, because that's gonna make it easier. Let's pretend that the A is positive, right? The A is positive, and let's pretend positive right now, and let's say that B is even. Okay, so this is positive, and let's pretend that that's a 2. So let's try x values of positive numbers. Let's say 1,000. 1,000 plus 2 is going to be a positive value. 1,000 minus 3 is going to be a positive value. So that's going to be positive. All right? It worked out. Let's go with the negatives. We said that the a value is positive, right? And that my exponent is even, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm doing the b value right now. Now, we just tried 1,000 value, right, as a value. Now let's try a negative 1,000. So negative 1,000 plus 2 is going to give me a negative inside. And negative 1,000 minus 3 is going to give me a negative here. But a negative to an even exponent is going to turn into positive. So I have a positive here, I have a positive here, and I have a negative value. Positive times negative is going to give me negative, and negative times positive is going to give me negative. So my final answer is negative. So that doesn't work out. Okay, it has to work out, but when the value is positive, a very big number, or negative as well. So let me cut to the chase. When this is even, it doesn't matter what I have on the inside. Any positive even power is going to give me positive, or any negative to an even power is going to be positive. All right, so this is going to be positive. All right, so because here I have a positive and a negative, that's going to change the values. So evens are not going to work out, guys. Evens are not going to work out. Let's get to C and D. When B is odd. So let's pretend that A is negative. So there's going to be negative in the front. Okay, we have a parenthesis, and B is going to be odd. Let's go 3, for example. So let's pretend that the B value, so we're doing the C, right? So let's pretend that we're going to use 1,000. So we have a negative here, and 1,000 plus 2 is going to give me a, right? And 1,000 minus 3 is going to give me 997. This to an odd number is going to be still positive value, and this is a positive value, but in the front it is a negative. Negative times positive is negative, but I still have a positive, and negative times positive gives me a negative. Right? I just tried out this first part. As you can notice, when the A is negative, my answer is going to be negative, and my requirement is that it has to be positive. So it doesn't work out. Let's try the last choice. A is positive. I have a parenthesis, that's my first parenthesis, and this is my second parenthesis. And I said that B is going to be odd. Let's pretend that is a 3. Let's try 1,000 again. So now we're saying that A is positive, and let's pretend that's 1,000 here, and 1,000 here. So 1,000 plus 2 is 1,002, and 1,000 minus 3 is going to give me 997. This cube is going to be a positive value. 1,002 is a positive value, and my beginning value is positive, so all these are going to give me a positive value. So far, so good. That's what I need. Now, instead of positive 1,000, let's try negative 1,000. Negative 1,000, negative 1,000. Still, with A is positive. So this is positive. And I'll have negative 1,000 plus 2 gives me negative 998. And then the next one is negative 1,000 minus 3 is going to give me negative 1,003 to the third power. Any negative to an odd exponent still is going to be negative. and here I have a negative value, and here I have a positive value. 2 negatives gives me a positive, times a positive gives me a positive. So my answer is D. A little confusing? I hope you got it. 18, guys. Remember, these are the last problems. So the last problems of this section most likely are more difficult, okay? That's why it's getting a little harder at the end. Let's go to 18. Which of the following equations is equivalent to this? Oh, logs. All right. Okay. Let me see, guys. Let me see. So, guys, let me try to make it as simple as possible. All right. So we have an exponential here, 2 to the 5th x, right? 2 to the 5x equals 7, and we have a logarithmic function. Logs and exponential are inverse to each other. Therefore, I can rewrite a log into an exponential. How can I rewrite it that? So this number, and it's called an argument. This 2, it should be a small 2, right? That's my base. That's the base of the log. So every time I'm rewriting a log, I take the base, I raise it to the exponent, make it equal to my argument. So in this case, it's going to be 2 to the x equals 7 over 5. Again, I take my base, a small number, raise it to the answer. That x turns into an exponent. And I make it equal to the argument, 7 over 5. Before I can rewrite this, my log function has to be by itself. Here there's a 5 dividing, there's a 5 dividing, there's a 2 dividing. I got to leave the log by itself. So here, my first step will be to get rid of this 5. If something is dividing, I multiply, and I multiply both sides. This 5 cancels with this 5, and I'll have 5x equals log on base 2 of 7. And now I can rewrite it. 2 to this equals that. 2 to the 5x equals my argument, which is 7. You notice that's my answer. Okay, let's do the other 2. I got to cancel this 5, right? Multiply by 5, multiply by 5. This 5 cancel with this 5. And now I have 5x equals log on base 7 of 2, right? This should be a small number like this. Let me rewrite it. 7 to the 5x equals to 2. Last one. I want to get rid of this, so times 2 on the top and on the other side. This 2 cancels this 2, and I have 2x equals log on base 7 of 5. Let's rewrite it. My base, 7 to the 2x, equals my argument. All right, as you can notice, there's only one. My answer is B. Let's go, 19. Holy cow. All right, if x is greater than 0 and y is greater than 0, the idea is because they have x inside a radical and y inside a radical, and they don't want imaginary numbers. That's why they're saying greater than 0. They want positive values, so there's no imaginary numbers. So if x is greater than y is greater than 0, which of the following expressions is equivalent to this? I have no idea. Okay? If you notice, some of those, they don't have a denominator. All right? They don't have a denominator. This is the only one that has a denominator. So guys, by rule is the following. Every time we have a rational expression, which is nothing more than something divided by something, right? A fraction, and we have variables on the denominator, we are not permitted to have radicals on the denominator. Therefore, what we do is we multiply by something that is called the conjugate. Okay, I don't want to have radicals in the denominator, so what I do is I multiply by something that is called a conjugate, which is the same two terms, but instead of negative, I put it positive. If I do it on the bottom, I got to multiply the top. We're rationalizing the denominator. That's what it is. Okay, let's see if this is going to work out. I'm hoping that it will. So first, let's multiply the denominator. Let's multiply this. FOIL, same thing that you multiply two polynomials, like when you do, I don't know, x plus 1 times x plus 3, guys. Same thing. First times first, times the second, times that, times that. That's called FOIL, right? First, outer, inner, last. We're going to do the same process here. Let's go one step at a time. So square root of x times square root of x is going to give me square root of x to the second power, right? X times x, x squared. Square root of x times y, right? Radical x times y is x times y. Second term, yx. So positive times negative is negative, and then I have square root of xy. I just need to organize the x and the y, right? X first. And now this times that. Negative times positive is negative. And square root of y times y gives me y to the second power. I FOIL. If you notice, the middle terms are equal, opposite sign. So it's like having positive 2 minus 2. These two are the same, so one is positive and the other one is negative. They cancel out. And now I'm going to solve this square root of x squared. The square root cancels the square, so my answer is x minus from here. The square root cancels the square, and I have y. And my denominator turned into x minus y. If you notice, there's no radicals anymore. That's why it's called rationalizing. There's no radicals anymore. And I'm seeing, hopefully, something that you're seeing. We have x minus y on the top, right? And we multiply times square root of x plus square root of y. Right? That's what I did. Before I start multiplying and doing all this craziness, look what happened here, guys. I have x minus y from here. And by multiplying this and this, I got x minus y. I can cancel that x minus y, that x minus y. If I cancel that x minus y with that x minus y, I have square root of x plus square root of y. And the answer is C. Again, a little more. It's getting harder, but again, you know. The idea, guys, is this. This is problem number 19 out of 20 already, okay? We don't have to have all of them perfect in order for you to pass. And this is getting... remember that these Accuplacer is used to place you in college as well. All right, so if you're going to get placed into college algebra, you need to know a little bit harder math. That's kind of the idea. All right, let's go to the last one. Let's see what is waiting for us. 20. In triangle ABC, angle C is a right triangle. Cosine of A is 5/8. What is the value of cosine of B? Well, guys, we're doing trig. There we go. So, right triangle. They're saying angle C is the right angle. Cosine of A, let's call this A and let's call this B. I'm assuming A and B, right? They're saying that cosine of A is 5/8. Cosine is adjacent side over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent side over hypotenuse. That means my adjacent side is 5. if this is A, my adjacent side is right next to A. Across the 90-degree angle, this is your hypotenuse. Okay? Across the 90. So, this is your adjacent side and this is your opposite side to A. Adjacent side is 5, hypotenuse is 8. Alright, they're asking me for cosine of B. Cosine of B is adjacent over hypotenuse. The difference is adjacent to B is this side, guys, and we don't have this side. We're going to call that X, for example. Alright, so that's the little trick right now. This side, I don't have it, and let's make it this. Now, this is a right triangle. I have two sides. I'm looking for the third one. You use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay? C has to be your hypotenuse. A and B, the other two sides. It doesn't matter the order. But C has to be your hypotenuse. Keep that in mind. So let's call A the x squared and let's call B the 5. Equals to C, which is the hypotenuse, A squared. And from there you find the value of x. X squared plus 25 equals to 64 minus 25. Okay, let's move here. 64 minus 25 gives you 39. Get rid of the square root. Get rid of the square. You do square root on both sides. Cancels. X equals plus or minus square root of 39, and 39 is not a perfect square. Now, because we're using a real triangle, I'm not going to be able to use a negative square root of 39, right? Because there's no length of a triangle that is going to be negative. So in that case, we only use the positive square root of 39. So this side is square root of 39. All right. Now, let's write the cosine. Cosine of beta is adjacent over hypotenuse, and adjacent is square root of 39, and hypotenuse is the same hypotenuse, which is 8. My answer is C. Okay, guys, we're done with the video. Please like the video. That's the main thing, so it's going to help us with the algorithm for YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and check this video. Take care. Bye-bye.